Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade on the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't just an impressive technical showpiece. It's proof that what I talked about in my last video, it's already happening. Third-party support for Nintendo has reached a turning point. The way that Square Enix treated the launch of this game and how the game is already performing shows that something fundamental has changed. This doesn't feel like an afterthought of a port. In some ways, it feels like Final Fantasy VII Remake is launching for the first time all over again. And after spending the week with Final Fantasy VII Remake on Nintendo Switch 2 and looking at the early sales success, it's clear that this release isn't just a big deal, it is a sign of what comes next. But let's start with the most important question first. How does Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade actually feel? How does it play on the Nintendo Switch 2? This is an excellent port and a technical showpiece for the Nintendo Switch 2. One of the best ports that we have seen on the system so far. I loved this game on the PS4, beat it on the PS5, so I'm very familiar with this game and know how it is supposed to feel when you play it. And it feels really good playing this game on the Nintendo Switch 2. And playing it on Switch 2, it genuinely feels like I'm experiencing the game all over again. It doesn't feel like I'm playing some downgraded version, made it to fit on Nintendo's hardware. Just now, I can play it however I want. It looks great on my TV, it looks great on the big screen, but the most impressive part is having this full modern AAA Final Fantasy experience like this, being able to play it portably, being able to play it handheld style. And I've said it before, when it comes to my RPGs, I love having that option of being able to experience the big story moments on the TV and being able to take care of side quests or do some grinding, playing it handheld, whether if I'm watching something else on the TV during my lunch break or just laying down in bed or on the couch. So being able to have that experience on the TV or portably and it not feel downgraded is very impressive. And just the performance overall is very impressive for the game. Yeah, it is 30 frames per second instead of the 60 frames per second, and having an option like a performance mode that would have definitely been really nice. But this is still one of the best looking and best performing third-party games on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it just feels good to play. And this is exactly the kind of game that you show to prove what the Nintendo Switch 2 is capable of. And yes, the way that this game runs and how it plays is very important, but how it's selling might matter even more. Early signs point to Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade being a legit sales success on Nintendo Switch 2. It's been number one on the eShop for about a week in both the US and Japan. It looks like Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, the Digital Deluxe Edition, has knocked it down to number 2, but it has been able to keep Animal Crossing New Horizons, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. It's been able to keep that game at bay, which to me is very impressive. It debuted at number 2 on the UK charts, and 100% of the sales for Final Fantasy VII Remake in the UK were on Nintendo Switch 2. I'm especially interested to see the Famitsu numbers once those come out later this week. The day one edition with the Magic the Gathering pack, it's been sold out in most places, and Square Enix has been openly happy with the launch, with multiple devs, the director, and execs celebrating the response that they've seen to the game publicly. Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is one of those games that Nintendo fans, it's something that we have been asking for, hoping for, wishing for, and waiting years to get. And when it finally showed up, Nintendo fans showed up for it. And that type of response is exactly what these third-party publishers pay attention to. This is the type of launch, this is the type of success that shapes how Square Enix makes their future decisions. Yes, we already know, and it's been confirmed, that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the third game in the series are coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, with rumors of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming as early as this summer on the Nintendo Switch 2. But looking beyond the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, this type of sales success can really impact Square Enix's future decisions. There's already reports coming from noted insider Nate the Hate, where he said that now Final Fantasy XVI is in consideration for the Nintendo Switch 2. He talked about that and a lot of other really good Nintendo Switch 2 information on his most recent podcast that I will have linked in the description. But also, could future mainline Final Fantasy games be built with the Nintendo Switch 2 in mind from the start? Does a game like Kingdom Hearts 4 that now launched day and date on the Nintendo Switch 2? And this type of success doesn't just impact Square Enix, it's impacting other publishers as well, especially the Japanese publishers. They are watching this stuff closely, from the big AAA studios like Capcom with games like Resident Evil Requiem, Pragmata, the rumored Nintendo Switch 2 version of Monster Hunter Wilds, Falcom with the Trail series, and on down to those AA or even smaller studios that want to see that there's a user base with a healthy appetite for their games, and that their games don't get ignored or lost in the shuffle. And if the Switch 2 becomes that platform, this is where it starts. This is where it gets taken to that next level. So Final Fantasy VII Remake has started off 2026 in a major way, especially on the third-party side of things. But it's just the start. I think this is going to be a big year for Nintendo, and especially for third parties on the Nintendo Switch 2. But Nintendo needs to keep this momentum going, because 2026 is a very pivotal year for the Nintendo Switch 2. And in order to keep that momentum going, it all comes down to what happens next. And the next video breaks down what needs to happen next and why 2026 is a very pivotal year for the Nintendo Switch 2. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and join me for more Nintendo Switch 2, and gaming discussions. Thank you so much for watching. This is Justin with Just Keep Playing. And until next time, I'll see you later. Have a good one. Just keep playing. Peace.